After returning to my room, I'd spent some time reflecting upon my state and my still bound hands. The rumors spoke of the Shinsengumi as vicious men, but they seemed more intimate, human to me. Still, their presence, or their being, lingered through me as if to say, we are not killers, but to protect our code, we must bring death. Remaining here is only bringing me closer to the possibility of them killing me. I don't know if I can convince them to spare me. Just as I have no loyalty to them, they have no loyalty to me. Only the Shinsengumi. But then, they mentioned a man must always be ready to face death. So are they still mistaking me for a man? Could I possibly risk exposing my true identity in exchange for mercy on my life? But this could just as easily backfire for me, and it could exact an even worse fate. I was truly at a loss for what to do. There was nothing for it. I had to try to escape, meaning I needed to get moving immediately. Staying in this room did nothing to help me. Fortunately, they hadn't bothered to tie me up completely again, only my hands were bound. That would slow me down, certainly, but so long as I could move my legs, I stood a chance. All right, now, the exit is... I cast my memory back to when they brought me into the building the night before. Right, I'm sure this'll work out. I stood up. Holding my breath, I edged toward the door. I knew it was rude, but I had no choice to try and open the sliding door with my toe. But I was almost there when suddenly it flew open all of its own, revealing...
No! No!
I stumbled straight into Kondo.
いや、ずいぶん大胆な方ですね。まさか逃げるつもりだったんですか?
Oh my. Well, that was rather bold. You were looking to escape, I assume?
勝手に動いては困りますね。君の身が余計に危うくなるだけですよ。
Attempting to escape was unwise. It will only make your situation that much more difficult. His voice was calm and not unfriendly, but his eyes were frigid and calculating. Too late. I realized why they hadn't bothered to tie me up again. They'd been watching me.
逃げれば切る。俺は確かにそう言ったはずだ。
I told you once, and I won't do it again. Run, and I'll gut you.
残念だけど、殺しちゃうしかないかな。約束を破るこの言葉なんて信用できないからね。
Sorry, but now we've got to kill you. We can't trust a kid who can't keep a promise. Okita smiled. He didn't look very sorry. I had no choice but to run. If I was going to die anyway, then I had nothing to lose by trying to escape. Slipping around a stunned Kondo, I took off down the hallway.
お前な、本気で逃げ出せるとでも思ったのか?
Did you really think you could escape? He snatched me from the floor in one smooth motion with a cat-like grace. Let me go.
話したら逃げるんだろうが、このアホ。
You think I'm stupid? You'll just try to run. No. But I don't want to die. And there's something I have to do.
年派もいかねえ小娘が下手な男装までして何を果たそうってんだ。
And what's that, huh? What compels a girl to run around Kyoto pretending she's a boy? Huh? Did he just say girl? When I stopped flapping my feet and arms, Hijikata put me back down on the floor. Sir, I looked up at his face, and he did not seem happy at all. Did you just say girl? I was scared. There was no denying it. Sanin looked at us and nodded.
なるほど。やはり女性だったんですか。
I see. Then you really were a
どう見
girl.
ても女の子だよね。君は綺麗に化けたつもりかもしれないけど。
Come on, you thought putting on a pair of pants was going to fool us? Even an idiot could tell. Wait, so all of you knew from the start? Was my disguise that unnatural? I wasn't quite sure what to think.
この近藤勇一生の不覚。まさか君が女子だったとは。
Oh, Hisami Kondo, you fool! This is the shame of a lifetime. How could I not have realized? Well, perhaps they hadn't all known. I confess, his reaction put me more at ease.
命を懸けられる理由があるんだ。ごまかさずに全部吐け。
You almost got killed for it, whatever it is. Maybe it's time you spilled your guts, kid. I looked back at him and nodded. There I was, surrounded once again by the leaders of the
少
Shinsengumi.
年にしては華奢で可愛らしい顔をしていると思っていたんだが、まさか本当に女子だったとはな。
I noticed you were slim, and your features were far too soft to be of a man's. But to think you were a lady this whole time. Kondo was nodding his head repeatedly, as if he were agreeing with a very intelligent suggestion. For him to notice the softness of my features, it flattered me a bit.
もう女だって聞いてから見ると女にしか見えなくなってくるんだよな。
Once you notice she's a girl, she really doesn't look like a boy at all, does
し
she?
かし女の子を一晩縄で縛っておくとは悪いことをしたね。
So we bound her and left her for the whole night? Oh dear.
でもよ、女だって言うが別に証拠はないんだろ。
Well, she claims to be a girl, but it's not like we have any actual proof, right? Proof?
証拠も何も一目瞭然だろうが。なんなら脱がせてみるか。
Proof, really? Not obvious enough for ya, huh? Alright, well you feel better if I strip her down.
許さんぞ。衆目の中、女子に肌をさらさせるなど言語道断。
No, you absolutely will not. To suggest such a thing is
だ
preposterous.
がな、それが一番手っ取り早いと思ったんだ。無理にとは言わないがな。
I just figured it was the quickest way to settle the question, but I won't force it.
でもよ、本当に女だって言うなら殺しちまうのも忍びねえよな。
Well, if you really are a girl, then killing you would just feel kinda wrong.
何甘いこと言ってるんだ。男だろうが女だろうが、性別の違いは生かす理由にならねえだろう。
Why are you so naive? It doesn't matter. If we have to kill her, she
もっともで
dies.
す。ですが、女性に限らず、そもそも人を殺すのは忍びないことですよ。
Exactly. Her gender is irrelevant. Killing in general is
今
wrong.
日の治安を守るために組織された私たちが無益な殺生をするわけにはいきません。
We were organized to protect the citizens of Kyoto. We would ill serve the public good by murdering civilians in cold blood.
結局、女の子だろうが男の子だろうが、今日の平安を乱しかねないなら話は別ですよね。
Yeah. But if this girl or boy is a threat to the peace, that's a horse of a different color. The Shinsengumi had already suffered a very gruesome reputation in Kyoto. If rumors spread their men were thirsty for blood, things weren't likely to go as well for them. Kyoto would banish them, and with no one to protect the people, the city would erupt into chaos. Each of their members deeply understood the consequences of behaving rashly in these
悪いが
times.
お前の荷物を改めさせてもらったぞ。
My apologies, but I took the liberty of checking through your belongings. It would appear you came all the way from Edo by
荷
yourself.
物はわずかな着替えと一月分の小銭、それと数通の手紙とこの小立ち。
You didn't seem to have much on you. Some clothing, pocket change, a few letters, and this sword.
幕府御殿医の松本良順の名前があった。おそらくそこを訪ねたんだろう。
One of the letters was from Ryojun Matsumoto, a shogunate-approved doctor. I assume you saw him.
お前の目的は何だ?
What is your purpose, Chizuru Yukimura? The minute my name was spoken, the vibe in the room shifted immensely. Everyone wore a stunned expression, eyes wide, and no words were uttered in response until...
土方さん、その名前は?
Wait, Hijikata, that name...
おいおい、偶然にしちゃできすぎだぜ。
Hey now, this can't be a coincidence.
まあ待て。それを判断するためにも、まずは君の話を聞かせてくれるかな?
Now, wait a moment. We only need to determine if you are a threat. Will you tell us your side of the story? At Kondo's behest, I stood up to speak. My name is Chizuru Yukimura. Under the watchful eyes of the leaders, I sharply described how I came to face them, how I lived in Edo, how I'd come to Kyoto to find my father, how lonely the city felt before I arrived.
そうか。出身も江戸だったのだな。父上を探して遠路はるばる京に来たのか。
Oh, then you're from Edo as well, and you came all the way to Kyoto to find your father?
して、お父上は何という方かね。
So, who is your father? My father is Kodo Yukimura.
つながったな。
So, the dots are connected. What, are you talking
あ
about?
なたが持っていた手紙の筆跡。これはまさに光道さんのものでしたが。
The handwriting within the letter does indeed match Kodo's, but
まさか本当に光道さんのご息女とはね。
to think you were a doctor's daughter. You know my father. The silence was enough to tell me that the revelation of my parentage caused a pronounced change in their behavior.
どこまで知ってる?
So, you've been withholding information from us? Huh? What information are you talking
いいか
about?
ら洗いざらい全部吐け! 何しに今日に来やがった?
There's no point in lying to us now. Out with it. What the hell are you doing in Kyoto? I just came to look for my father. I swear, I don't know anything
親
else.
父の光道さんが何をしてるか知っててここに来たんだろうが!
You came to this city fully aware of what your father, Kodo, is doing? I was only aware of my father being in Kyoto for his medical work, but I haven't seen him since last summer. That's all I know.
土方君、どうやら本当に何も知らないのかもしれませんよ。
Hijikata, it may be better for us not to press because she may not know anything after all. So, what do you know about my father? Where is he right now? Please tell me.
光道さんの行方は現在新選組でも探している。
The Shinsengumi is currently attempting to determine the whereabouts of Dr. Kodo Yukimura. You're after my father? So this means...
勘違いしないでね。僕たちは光道さんを狙ってるわけじゃないから。
Oh, no, you've got us all wrong. We're not, after him. I see. A huge wave of relief came over me.
同じ幕府側の協力者なんだけど、実は彼、夏から行方知れずなんだよね。
He's a fellow supporter of the shogun, but, well, he sorta disappeared a little while
幕
ago.
府をよく思わない者たちが光道さんに目をつけた可能性が高い。
there's a reasonable chance that the enemies of the Shogun have identified him as a threat. Ah, I let out an audible gasp, but Saito continued without paying me any
生
mind.
きている公算も高い。乱方医は利用価値がある存在だ。
There is, of course, the chance he's still alive. Doctors skilled in Western medicine are quite rare. I wasn't sure what else to do, so I nodded. My heart pounded in my chest, threatening to burst onto the floor.
どうでしょうか。同じ人物を探す者同士、彼女に手を貸してあげてはいかがかと。
Kondo, what do you make of her situation? Would it be in our interest to help her, seeing as we are all looking for the same
手を
person?
貸すとはどういうことかね。
What exactly do you mean by help her?
行動さんが見つかるまで互いに協力し合うということです。
I only mean to say we should cooperate with her until we find
彼
Kodo.
女に協力してもらうことで行動さんが見つかる可能性は格段に上昇するでしょう。
With her assistance, I'm sure our chances of locating Kodo will increase drastically. Huh?
私たちがいくら探しても姿形を変えられてしまっては見抜くことは難しい。
Looking for him may prove fruitless, however. If he's in disguise, spotting him will be
で
difficult.
すが行動さんの娘である君ならば身なりが変わっていようとカンパできますね。
You are his daughter, however. You ought to recognize him no matter how he may have disguised himself. Yes? Yes, of course. I nodded as I spoke while giving him what I hoped seemed like a steady, reassuring
そ
smile.
れに彼女が手中にあるというのは何かと都合がいいと思います。
Besides, having her stay with us regardless can only be of use to our headquarters.
どうだトシ。三男君の意見に俺は賛成だ。
What do you say, Toshi? Sanan is making a lot of sense.
こいつが本当に何も知らねえって言うんなら
If it turns out that she doesn't know a thing after all, then... It's true. All I know is that my father headed to Kyoto, but I don't know anything else. And about last night, I didn't even see anything.
まあ、あの乱暴医の娘となりゃ殺しちまうわけにもいかねえか。
Well, if she is his daughter, we can't really kill her, can we? His eyes narrowed as he looked down at me.
昨夜の件は忘れるって言うんなら父親が見つかるまでお前を保護してやる。
If you promise to keep last night a secret, we'll let you stay until your father is found. Fair?
君の父上を見つけるためならば我ら新選組は協力は惜しまんとも。
I promise that the Shinsengumi will do whatever they can to help you find Dr. Kodo. Thank you so much. I'd never imagined something like this. I was elated to have escaped death, but not only had I survived, I'd found my first decent lead.
殺されずに済んでよかったね。とりあえずはだけど。
You must be glad we won't be killing you, huh? Well, won't be killing you just yet, at any rate. He gave me that same wolfish grin. There was no denying that my situation was still less than desirable, but it didn't matter for now. Yeah, I'm very glad. Against all odds, at last, I'd found help where I'd never expected it. The Shinsengumi. My first day in Kyoto was quite the adventure. In spite of everything I'd seen, my fortune was improving with every step. I still had a long way to go, but keeping positive was my only hope.
雪村君、よかったね。これからはよろしく頼むよ。
Aren't you relieved, Yukimura? It's a pleasure to have you. Yes, thank you. It's a pleasure for me as well.
なあ、ゲンさん。女子となれば、ここのような男女体では申し訳ない気がするんだが。
Hey, Gen, with her being a lady and all, I'm not sure that our all-male household is equipped for her needs.
そうですね。これはちょっと困りましたな。
You bring up a good point. What would you have me do? Kondo crossed his arms and thought deeply.
不便があれば言うといい。その都度可能な範囲で対処しよう。
Should you require anything, you need only ask. We will do what we can to accommodate you. Thank you.
まあ女の子となりゃ手厚くもてなさんといかんよな。
Well, I guess we'll have to be nicer to you now that we know you're a girl.
新八さん女の子に弱いもんな。でもだからって手のひら返すの早すぎ。
Gee, didn't take you long to change your tune when she saw she was a girl, hey Shin?
いいじゃねえか。これで豚書が華やかになると思えば、新八に限らずはしゃぎたくもなるだろう。
Whatever. Having a lady here at headquarters is sure gonna brighten things up a bit, won't it? I wasn't entirely sure I believed that sentiment.
とはいえ、ここでは女性として扱うのは難しそうです。
I'm not sure if our headquarters are up to standards for a lady, however.
大使として扱うのもまた問題ですし、彼女の処遇は少し考えなければなりませんね。
She's not a soldier, so we cannot expect to treat her as
なら
such.
誰かの交渉にすりゃいいだろう。近藤さんとか三男さんとか。
Then make her a page or something. Want an assistant, Kondu? What about you, Sanan?
やだな、土方さん。そういう時は言い出しっぺが責任取らなくちゃ。
Oh, come on now, Hijikata. It's your idea, so you can't just pawn her off on someone else.
ああ、そうだな。都市のそばなら安心だ。
Ah, excellent. We can entrust Toshi with her.
そういうことで土方くん、彼女のことよろしくお願いしますね。
Oh, well, there you have it, Hijikata. I hope you'll take good care of her.
めえら、勝手に決めてるんじゃねえ!
You sons of bitches. You can't just decide. As I watched their back and forth, some of my earlier relief began to ebb away. And this is how the Shinsengumi had come to look after me. Mid-February, 1864. I slid the door open and met a breath of cool morning air. Clumps of thick clouds trundled silently over the city, and an unusually strong wind drove them along. It's cold today. I shivered a bit and grabbed a jacket from near the door to wrap around myself. A week had passed since I'd begun living in the headquarters of the Shinsengumi. I was given a room of my own, but they made it clear that I wasn't to roam freely. They weren't the best of accommodations, but given how close I was being to murdered by them, I thought it best not to complain. Still, do I really need to dress like this all the time? I sighed, staring at my feet on the cold floor. They'd given me temporary accommodations, but it wasn't without its strict conditions.
お前の身柄は新選組預かりとする。が、女として豚書へ置くわけにはいかねえ。
The Shinsengumi will look after you, but we do not allow women to simply wander our
新
doors.
選組にかくまわれている女がいる。
The Shinsengumi keeping a woman
そ
here.
んな話が万一にも広まれば、よくねえ勘繰りをする奴も出てくる。
If such rumors were to spread, tongues would begin to wag.
噂を聞いて行動さんを狙っている奴らが、お前まで狙い出すかもしれねえ。
Even worse, it may invite guests who are also searching for Kyoto to come here, looking for you.
もちろん、行動さんが狙われていると確定したわけじゃねえが。
It is still up to speculation, however, whether or not he has been taken or
こういう
attacked.
不確定要素が多い現状で、迂闊な行動は取れねえってことだ。
So many unanswered questions hovering about. All the more reason to keep recklessness at a low.
だから、お前には断層を続けてもらう。面倒だろうが、それでいいな。
In other words, you need to keep this facade as a man. Do I make myself clear? Clear. His reasoning was sound. Perhaps more than that, I knew he was concerned not only for the Shinsengumi, but also for the safety of my father and myself. I didn't have a choice regardless, but keeping this in mind made his orders more palatable.
それに、たとえ君にその気がなくとも、女性の存在は体内の風紀を乱しかねない。
I don't expect this to be an issue, but having a woman around could disrupt morale, so to speak.
ですから私たち幹部のほか、大使たちへも君の事情は話しません。
For that reason, only we, the Shinsengumi's leadership, will know the truth of your
情
situation.
報はそれこそどこから広まるかわかりませんからね。
It is imperative for us to keep this under wraps, for there is no telling of what becomes of rumors. I understand the situation. What should I do while I'm here?
豚書じゃ何もしなくていい。部屋を一つやるから引きこもってろ。
Nothing. You're going to get a room and you're going to stay in it.
あれおかしいな。この子、誰かさんの故障になるんじゃなかったですか？
Really? I could have sworn we decided she was going to become someone's page.
いいか、掃除。てめえは余計な口出しせずに黙ってろ。
Soji, keep your tongue in your mouth or I'll cut the fucking thing off. Before long, I'd been there for a week. I guess I don't have much of a choice. No sense in dwelling on what I can't do, after all. Although it was still a new sensation, I'd grown comfortable in dressing like a boy, particularly the feeling of wearing pants. I straightened up and touched the kodachi that Hijikata had given back to me. This was a familiar friend of mine, the blade by my hip stretching back as far as I can recall. According to my father, this was an important heirloom passed through the Yukimura clan. As such, I was forced to take lessons in swordplay, making me well aware of what the blade was capable of. I had never much cared for weapons. Weapons hurt people, which is an obvious factor, but it was more than that, at least for me. For as far back as I could remember, any wounds I suffered healed at an incredible rate. Small cuts could disappear overnight. As a child, I'd thought nothing of it, but as I grew older, I realized that I was not quite normal. My father insisted it was the gift from the gods, and that I should know no one of it. I didn't tell anyone, of course. I was afraid they would treat me like a monster if they knew. Ever since then, I'd done my best not to get hurt. I stayed as far away from blades as I could, and before I realized it, I developed a fear of them. My constant need for disguise was frustrating, but my condition left me more unsettled. Still, that wasn't the only thing on my mind. The rank-and-file soldiers treated me coldly. I'm not just imagining it, right? I learned having a private room was a privilege, even for captains. For a child to arrive and receive better treatment than their own captains. No surprise, really, for the soldiers to hate me. True, I suppose I can't really blame them. I was enjoying the Shinsengumi's hospitality, and so I felt like I should help them in some way, but I knew nothing of the soldiers and their ways. I gave as much effort as possible, despite Hijikata's commands for me to remain in my room. How does one calm the lonely, restless mind? I think for the soldiers, whenever the captains or other officers would look out for me, it appeared as if they were giving me special treatment. They're just watching me. To make sure I kept my mouth shut, they took turns to keep watch over me. Any mistake on my part would cause huge trouble, so they were making an extra effort to keep me contained. Even if I could speak with the soldiers, what conversations would we share? Nothing. My only respite from any possibility of detection would be to stay alone. Again. All I wanted from this, though, was to find my father. Even though they'd promised to help me, keeping me locked here without the ability to leave was no better than being tied up. Just when it felt like I'd made some progress into my journey, my search was kept to a halt. Perhaps I thought I could talk to Hijikata, if he could give me permission to look for my father. Oh, no, that's right. Hijikata just recently departed to Osaka. Well, if he's not here, I wasn't sure what to do. To be completely honest, staying in the room was awfully boring. No, considering your predicament, you need to follow Hijikata's orders, Chizuru. I didn't want to cause a disturbance on top of what I'd done. The consequences would be... What am I doing here? A forlorn malaise wafted over me. The room was nice, of course, but also practically empty. I wasn't uncomfortable, I suppose, but not comfortable either, and nothing past the time. Here I thought I'd gotten used to doing nothing. My father's business required him to take trips frequently, sometimes for days at a time, and so I'd spent a good deal of time at home on my own. This isn't quite the same, though. Back then, I always knew he'd be back, eventually. Waiting for someone you knew who would return, and waiting for what you didn't quite know, are two very different things. When will I be able to start looking for father again, I wondered. My reflections all manifest into sighs, eventually.
探したぞ、雪村君。ここにいるとは思わなんだ。
Yukimura, I've been looking for you. I didn't think you'd be here. Kondo smiled brilliantly at me as he stepped into the room, holding a tray in his hands. I'm sorry? I wasn't sure what to make of his words, so instead I bowed. Wait a moment. Is this your room? For now, yes.
なんと俺は女子の部屋に無断で立ち入ってしまったというわけか。
Then I barged into a woman's room without announcing myself. No, it's fine. After all, it isn't as though there's anything here I wouldn't want you to see.
都市の故障というからには都市の隣部屋かと思っていたのだが。
We decided you would be Toshi's page, so I assumed your room would be next to his. Hijikata had, of course, failed to tell Kondo that I had yet to be made a page. I wasn't surprised. It wasn't too hard to see what was going on. I'm not really prepared to entertain, but you're welcome to come in if you'd like.
そうか。では失礼してお邪魔させてもらおう。
There's no need to worry. If I may, I will take you up on the offer, though.
そうかしこまらんでくれ。君は我ら新選組の客人のようなものだからな。
And you needn't feel nervous around me. While you are here, you're a guest of the Shinsengumi. Then he placed the tray on the floor between us. This is... As I looked down at the tray, I could barely stifle a sudden squeal of excitement.
君は甘いものは好きかね。茶菓子の棚にコンペイトーがあったのでな、持ってきたんだ。
You're a fan of sweets, I take it. I found some of these in the cupboard, so I brought them here for you. On the plate, he'd arranged several comfortable candies and a cup of warm green tea. So, what do you think? If you'd like to have some, go ahead. No need to hold back. Thank you very much. I cautiously reached to take one of the candies. It's delicious. It had been a while since I'd had any sweets. Something about the small, colorful candy seemed so adorable, I couldn't help but smile. I'm glad you liked them. Kondo possessed a warming presence that made me feel safe as he watched me eat. Oh, yes. I heard you haven't been allowed to go outside. It's true, but it seems better to know my place. Rushing things would only make more trouble. So, just as Hijikata suggested, I plan on waiting a little
なる
more.
ほど。分かってくれて嬉しい。
I see. I'm glad you
ああ見えて
understand.
トシは昔から他人に世話を焼かないでいられない性分だからな。
I know Toshi seems a little rough on the edges, but I promise you, he is truly a caring man. Hijikata... caring? That didn't seem right, but then again, I told myself Kondo knows much better than I
ちょっ
do.
と厳しいところがあるかもしれんが、今回の件も君を思ってのことだろう。
He may be a little strict with you, but only because he has your best interests at heart. I guess that to be the case. If the commander doesn't think it's time for me to leave yet, then I trust him. I'm sure you all know what's out there better than I do. I hadn't spent much time with him, but it was obvious that Hijikata was no fool. He was intimidating, of course, but he was a man of good
これ
intentions.
からもトシには伝えておこう。退屈だろうが、もうしばらく我慢してくれ。
I'll speak with Toshi. You're bored, I know, but I'll have to ask you to hang on a bit. Alright, thank you. He hadn't done much, to be honest, but Kondo's visit had cheered me up greatly. Of course, the conditions of staying in my room were left unchanged. However, the creature comforts of spending an afternoon drinking warm tea gave me some life.